talking about? There he is. So it's just outside the city. Oh yeah.
That's him.
Yeah. Oh,
Comes a blur at some point.
yeah. Really?
I mean, you can look it up on LinkedIn later
Yeah.
and see if that's really true. I know with myself, I think someone looks the same.
Your Santarpio's that area?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
feel a Bostonian then, if you know.
Yeah. My
Santarpio's.
family's all East Boston.
East Boston?
Yeah.
We're just going to get ourselves started here. Thank you for joining the 9th annual Startup Boston Week. Our mission with this conference is to bring together the entire startup community across every industry, stage of development, stage of funding, department. And Startup Boston exists to connect, educate, and celebrate this community while serving as a trusted and unbiased guide to resources that will help you start and scale your business. I'm Jeremy Brown. I'm an advisor and an investor, and I'm the room host for the day. Before we dive in, just want to say thank you to Suffolk University, who's graciously allowed us to use the space for the last 3 years, and for their deep commitment to the startup community in Boston. They have a lot of interest in entrepreneurship and have some really great programs, so encourage folks to talk to the folks at the table outside, whether or not you're interested in entrepreneurship or maybe even helping or mentoring students who are. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our panel for, I suspect, a highly anticipated discussion on how you get customers here. And I will get out of the way. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. My name is Yawa Digboe, and I'm a campaign manager at Global Arts Live, a nonprofit organization that actually bring artists to Boston. So good afternoon and welcome to Startup Boston. This session is one of the most anticipated session of the year. And it's on a critical topic. It's one that's always evolving. It's a puzzle of sales, and it's called cold outreach. So we all know that it's very difficult right now to get people attention. And there is a lot of things. There's inbox fatigue, we name it. Regulation keeps changing all the time. And buyer expect personalization at scale. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So the tool keeps changing as well. They're getting smarter. We need to implement sharper strategy and the right balance between human connection and automation as well. How do we make cold outreach, whether it's emailing or calling, work in 2026 and beyond? So today's session, we have a couple of people. We have experts in outreach and here in cold outreach. So first, I would like to introduce Kirk Fackery. Would you mind to share more and give us a 30-second elevator speech about yourself and your interaction with cold outreach as well?
Sure. So that's loud, sorry. I call myself a recovering entrepreneur. I worked in tech, not in sales, for the first 10 years of my career, got dragged to the dark side at one company I worked for a long time. And then I got itchy. Got to find the right balance here. I'm getting some signals. And I decided to go into the world of entrepreneurship and startups at probably the worst time ever, around 2000. So I did a series of startups, none you would have heard of, one that kind of worked out kind of okay, 4 that did not work out at all. And then I went back to corporate America and work for the man now. Recently, I've been working in cybersecurity and strategy, IT strategy. So I lead a small team of sales professionals at iCore Technology, which is a local IT consultancy. And we just headline, we outsource all of our cold outreach. So sorry about that.
Great. Thank you so much for those 50-second elevator speech. Next, I would like to introduce to Jenna Pramaratova. She's Senior Sales Executive at Technis. Would you mind to introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us what you do and how you do outreach?
Happy to. So my name is Jana. I've been in sales for the last 15 or so years. I have some peers here, so I'm very happy to be here. In terms of cold outreach, I recently joined a startup or scale up for the United States market. So we do anything from LinkedIn campaigns, calling, emailing, and everything in between. Apparently, not microphoning, so happy to adjust volume as needed. But yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for the warm welcome, and excited to be on this panel.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Jerry Casaleto, Director of Sales at Revenir. And a very interesting point is we used to work together, but we didn't know that. So please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Jerry Casaletto, Director of Sales at Revenir. We're an outbound SDR firm. So we specialize in phone first, cold outreach in the B2B space. I've been with Revenir for about 8 years. When I joined, it was very much a startup. And now we have 150 employees, 50 or 60 clients, all from startups, stealth, that are going to market, and we're formulating their messaging, their approach for getting new opportunities in the market, all the way up to large enterprises. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the three of you for this introduction. So now let's get started. So let's set up the stage. I'm a founder who has identified a problem and created a solution. I may or may not have received organic interest in my solution and may or may not have signed my first few contracts. This is inbound. So people come to me, but there is not enough revenue. I need to reach out to my target audience to see what's next. And by the way, I may not or may not know who is my target audience yet. So I'm very early on as a founder, which means that I need to do outbound outreach. How do I start? Where should I start? Jerry, I'm going to start with you.
For sure. So transitioning from that founder-led perspective to going to market, one is you do need to test your ICP. You might not know the target yet, but start having these conversations with what you think to perceive the title to be. Could be in a certain area that you think, but the message might resonate elsewhere. You really want to engage the market. And what I see, especially going from stealth and going to market to have these initial conversations to target, is get feedback. Get feedback on the product, get feedback on that product market fit with those titles. Because you're going to figure out, first, you got to find the data and engage those on phone, email, and LinkedIn. Those are the three channels you're going to want to focus on. The message, you're going to get feedback on your message. One, if you're cold calling and the message resonates and you get past that initial gambit, is what we like to call it, that first opening dialogue, those first 30 seconds. If you're engaging in conversation, even if they're objecting, you're probably some level of interest there. But every time if you bring up your product or solution and it's not really going anywhere in the first 30 seconds, or there's hangups, or there's not replies, you might need to retarget your market. So the big thing is testing and using that data for where the message resonates, especially past that first 30 seconds on a cold call, is extremely important.
Right. Jenna, would you like to add anything to that? Where should I start? I'm a founder. I'm starting from scratch.
Sure. I think I have a little bit more of a human approach, and I take my playbook from an 11-year-old who talks about her friends as a first-level friend, second-level friend, and third-level friend. So I think of my sales in that regard as well. I think of who are my core customers, right? And often you start with the bigger net, right? You kind of cast your fish net. I don't fish, obviously. So you cast your net, right, and you see the bigger group. And from that bigger group, you narrow it down, Once you have your core group, the people that you really want to be in touch with, like you focus on them, you start building their relationship. And especially if it's cold outreach, it sometimes takes 8 tries to reach out to somebody, right? So you knock on the door, and you can't always knock on the door with, hey, like, do you have some time to talk? Because at this point, people ask you, like, what do you want to talk about, right? So you start building that group, you start creating that value, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later. And then you have the second group. These are the people that are like the nice to haves. Like, I would like to land this opportunity, but it's like a big brand. Like it's, I don't know, like a large retailer, a big commercial real estate company. Like they're not going to turn like tomorrow, right? But like keep them warm, keep them in your network. And then the biggest group is like maybe it's these folks for me, right? It's like the folks that I met at Startup Boston. Like, it's like if I have a product launch, maybe I can say, hey, Kirk, come to my product launch. Hey, Jerry, let's get a drink. You're in Woburn. There's a lot of Bulgarians in Woburn. Like, let me give you like some moonshine from my compatriots, right? So it's a little bit of like, I guess to summarize and be concise here, I think of it as a circle. So it's like the biggest circle is what's my overall network? What's my smaller network, people that are like nice to haves, and what are the people that I need to keep close? And those people you need to be a little more aggressive with in some ways, while remembering that there's still a person who only has some small amount of time for you. So that's a little bit of my approach of where to start. Like, be mindful of your own time and theirs.
Okay. Be kind.
Be kind.
Thank you. Thank you for starting with that. Kirk, I'm going to you. Where should I start? And you have a unique perspective on it. You've been an entrepreneur, and now you're on the dark side also.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So sure. When I was on the other side of the desk, as an entrepreneur, I did much what Zaina has described, not maybe as elegantly as she does it because I was younger and stupider. But I think what I've learned, both from having done this and having been on the other receiving end of it, is it's perfectly fine to do cold outreach if you're not going right to the sale. So what I like to see from people that reach out to me, mostly on LinkedIn, less on the phone, I'm not a big phone person, is that if they communicate what they're doing, how they think I might be helpful to them, and really just not have a pitch, right? So I'll take those. And a lot of the things I've learned, some people I bought from, most people I haven't, and a few people I've referred. So I think keep in mind it's not just finding sales opportunities, but validating your concept, and that's how to present it to a prospective listener. Can you help me understand if this is a good fit? And by the way, once you're on the phone, is there something relevant that you could introduce me to in your network? Somebody in your network that might be interested in this. So that's what I would caution. Just be very much asking for advice rather than some kind of sales engagement.
Okay. Thank you so much for getting us started, the three of you. I'm going to turn to the audience now because I want to do a kind of a poll. I want to see how many of you are founders. Okay. How many of you are sales leader? Oh, great. Students? Anybody in between? Other? Okay, great. That's good. So we're going to try to make it a little bit more specific for you. So I'm going to turn to Jenna, actually. I have a very specific question for you. Give us an example of cold outreach that works well for you. And keep in mind, we have mostly founders here in the room.
I think I'll piggyback a little bit of what Kirk was saying with the asking for advice. And back to what I was saying earlier about being mindful of your own time and the person's time.
Speak louder, please.
Sure. I don't. Sorry. So I think what's like in terms of success, right? It's being strategic with your outreach. So if you're doing like a LinkedIn outreach, something that has worked well for me is like that comment that Kirk was sharing, is asking for advice, being able to build your community, being able to build your network, and then utilize the tools. So like for the core group of people, right? If we go back to the 11-year-olds example, for the core group of people, you want to be on top of your own messaging. You want to drive that message, you want to create that message, you want to be relevant, you want to see what they're doing, right? Check out their LinkedIn. Maybe they had a win. See what's going on with their company. Ask, maybe if appropriate, about their family. Like, hey, like, what's going on with your life, right? So I think to go to like a more specific success, I think it's important to meet the person where they're at, because ultimately, like we started the conversation with inbox fatigue, right? Like, I think my general manager here for the US like doesn't even open most of her LinkedIn messages. Sorry, Beatrice, for throwing you under the bus there. But in that regard, like for me, what's been successful is for the small group of people that I'm talking to is have a specific targeted message that I create. And then for the rest, utilize my tools. Like be it utilizing like an AI platform to create some content for me for the second layer group, be it creating some content on LinkedIn for the third layer group, right? Because nobody likes to say no. So like sometimes you're gonna get ghosted. So for me, what's been successful is this almost like a three-ply strategy of be specific and narrow, own that conversation and connection. Then for the larger one, be a little like use your tools, like maybe use ChatGPT and be like, hey, like write me like a message here. And then for the bigger one is really just like, I don't know, posting, like create value. And like, I'll use your like experience here as well is like finding your own voice is hard. Like I'm trying to find my own voice in LinkedIn, right? Because most people are not necessarily going to care about your sales approach, but they will care. It's like, hey, like she went to work today and did this. Like that's a human connection there. So I think that's been kind of my success. And I'll talk in terms of the specifics a little bit later, but like we use some AI platforms that have really helped me be specific with that success in campaigns and outreach.
Thank you for sharing. So it sounds like there is success in messaging. But I want to tell you about something. We had a session earlier about KPI, all about KPI. So I'm turning to you, Jerry. You work at Revenir, outsource agency who just do cold reach all day long. What are the KPIs that you are tracking?
For sure. So a few of the things you want to look at when you're measuring your cold outreach, we focus on phone first. So we do make cold calls. Like we cold call and we try to engage on the phone. One thing you want to calculate is your connect rate. What percentage of your dials are going to an active conversation with your ideal customer? You want to do this over time as well, because the reason you want to do this is one, you want to know the percentage of out of 100 calls, how many people are going to be picking up. I'll tell you right now, the average in the industry is going to be 5 to 7%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's where omni-channel comes in, and you focus on emails and LinkedIn, and you stay consistent with the cold calls. From connect, we do conversation rate. That means is your message resonating? So of those connects, what percentage of those go to a conversation of 2 minutes or greater? If you're not getting to that 2-minute mark, most likely something in your messaging is not resonating, or there's an objection that is consistently there that you can't overcome. So you have to navigate that part of the messaging. From there, we track meeting scheduled rate. So of those conversations, how many of those convert to an active meeting? And then with outbound cold calling, you're going to want to do delivered rate as well. I'd love to say 100% of cold people show up to meetings, but on average, it's 70%. And you want to stay around that metric. Past that, we track any of those meetings delivered that turn into an active opportunity. So we track all of that over time to see how it's fluctuating and see if there's any inconsistencies. Like if there's an inconsistency connect rate, is my phone now going to spam? And do I need to fix this? Like these are things that as you go to market that might not come to mind, but something you need to see, and that's what that data will show you over time.
Okay, great. So I heard messaging from you, Jenna, and I'm hearing consistency from you.
Definitely.
I'm turning to Kirk because I really want to know, based on your experience, what are some of the key elements, or maybe, let me rephrase that, common element or pattern that you have seen while doing cold calling or emailing, leading to success?
It's changing all the time. I mean, the idea that you could, not that long ago, send a whole bunch of emails that are personalized and get a certain number of replies, that's no longer the case as far as I'm concerned. You get put into spam. If you make unsolicited calls and don't leave a message, I'll block you. Leave a message. I would say that's maybe the new thing, and maybe it's back to some of what Jerry's company does, is being phone first. And even if you don't connect, how I intake cold outreach via the phone is if someone leaves a message, it sends me an email. And if I feel like reading the transcript, I'll read the transcript. If it's relevant, I may listen to the message. So I think not ghost dialing, not spraying and praying, but actually being highly targeted and respectful of people's time, and don't be afraid to make a phone call.
So phone calls, so that leads to the call script. And Jerry, I think you're going to be the one responding to that. Is how are you approaching the call script and the email outreach differently now?
For sure. So the call script is no longer like as straightforward as it used to be. Like you used to be able to kind of say who you are, what you do, and see if there's interest. But now, like Kirk said, everyone's phone is probably ringing off the hook. So of those 5 to 7% of connects, you do have to execute. And what we like to focus on is introduction of the call and then relevance, very specific to that person as to why you're reaching out. Reason for my call is X. I mean, I hear it for all of our clients. That specific reason per person is extremely important because that's going to resonate that you did your research once they get on the phone, and they hopefully can give you the time of day from there. You know, I know there was cold outreach recently, just for the Reveneer example, reached out to a CMO of a tech company and noticed on his LinkedIn that they had X amount of million in digital pipeline generation. So I called him and I was like, hey, I noticed that. Just curious to know, what are you guys doing for outbound phone prospecting? And it's like, clearly did the research, saw what they were doing, and didn't see that represented on LinkedIn. That gave me the time of day to head into the conversation. So intro, hi, my name is, reason for the call. Here at Reveneer, we do outbound SDR prospecting. Can I ask? End with an open-ended question. Don't just say what you do and leave the gate for them to object. Ask an open-ended question that's relevant to them, and then engage into conversation from there. You're most likely going to get objections, and you're going to have to embrace those and overcome them. But I hear so often sales professionals, when they start to make those cold calls, just say what they do and see what they say. It's like, ask an open-ended question that's interested, that can help guide the conversation.
Thank you for those advice. Earlier, we talked about a multi-channel approach. We talked about LinkedIn. Zina, you're the one who started with that. So how do you structure that? How does it work? Like, what's the good balance between email, phone, LinkedIn, and video? We haven't mentioned that yet. Where should I start?
I haven't done video, mostly because, probably like most of us here, I hate seeing myself on video. So I think by just recording and re-recording videos, I'll probably spend an hour on like a single video that I'll send. So unless I utilize like a HeyGen or something and create an avatar, which I spend like a full day making, then like I think my vanity will come against that. I balanced it. I'd say my best friend at this point is LinkedIn, mostly because that's where you see who is connected to whom. You see what their background is. Maybe you have a shared experience. That's a bit easier for me as I made a move in network. So I have people from my previous role that are still in that space. That obviously, if you're starting a completely new business, will be a little different. I think phone and email, I share similar skepticism to some degree to Kirk. In terms of emailing, that has not worked like a ton for me, so I've kind of refocused on LinkedIn. And then for calls, I actually started my career making 100 calls a day. That was my day, every day for however 6 months of that temp job that was. And that is, fun when you're, 20, and like then you have beers with your colleagues after that. But none of you, like some of you are 20, but like that's probably not what you want to spend your 20s on, right? So I would say if you're going to be calling and you don't have a resource like Jerry's, build times in your schedule that you will be calling at. Because for me, even after I've done it for 15 years, it still falls behind, right? Because cold outreach is the last on your list. Nothing's burning. It's not urgent. It's not important for today, for this moment, right? It's both urgent and important for your business. But like, it falls down the priority list because it's like, I'm calling somebody that probably doesn't even want to talk to me. So again, back to mindfulness and kindness with yourself. Like, like maybe my least productive time of the day is Tuesdays at 4 p.m. That's where I get really tired. Like maybe use that time to do some like cold outreach. So I'd say, to kind of summarize, play to your strengths. Like if you don't like to be on the phone, then don't be. Like play to your strengths. But if you're going to be on the phone, find some time, book that time, and use that. So for me, that's worked. Again, to some degree, as the phones keep falling down my priority list. But that's, I guess that's my 3 cents on the outreach.
Yeah, thank you, Zena. That's very helpful. What about you, Kirk? What's the balance? What's the right balance between email, LinkedIn, call, et cetera, et cetera?
I think with respect to the founders in the room, I would encourage you to use LinkedIn as LinkedIn first and use it in the way that I mentioned. It's to validate your product market fit, to validate that the idea is even good. And I found people that I've done that to, if that's the right word, and done it for. It's a virtuous feeling to help somebody if it's relevant. So I would say for a founder, I would lean heavily on LinkedIn outreach and less on the phone. That said, I work for a 75-person company, and we can't afford to wait around for those relationships to kind of gel. So we do use outsourcing. So for a somewhat more established company, I do think a phone-first approach would make sense. But I want to read the room here in terms of how to, how to most help people that are sitting here.
And I think, sorry to kind of jump in a little bit, what you're saying is, it's okay to ask, am I on the
Yeah.
right track here? Is there a market fit, right? Because especially as you're creating something, you're the best advocate for like the service, goods, whatever that might be, right? Idea. But you're also your worst enemy because like you know it so well that you assume that everybody knows it. So for me, what's really fun in this kind of cold outreach is to almost like spot check myself and be like, do you even like know what I'm selling? Like not to like underestimate the person, but am I doing a good job introducing it? Because like, I work in a very niche market, and like most of us maybe are like at some point have been in this niche space where like you know your product, you know the value of it, but you need to create the value and the urgency for everybody else. So I think when you do this kind of approach, when you're asking for advice for a call, like you kind of can pulse check and navigate your roadmap a little bit from like maybe that was not the right thing that I'm trying to sell. Sorry.
What about you, Jerry? Is there a sequence, a winning sequence, where you mix everything? You mix email, call, and etc. How does it work?
For sure. I mean, you definitely want to mix all three channels. I mean, for us, we do favor the phone first, but once you supplement email and LinkedIn, that's where you want to use those channels to start getting a relevant message across. We typically try to make, I mean, we make a good amount of calls, to be honest, but we'll make 8 calls and then we'll put them in email. We'll do a 4-step email sequence over 30 days. And you want to use the messaging that's been discussed up here, getting advice, getting feedback, see if it's relevant. And then on LinkedIn, you want to shoot that connect for sure. And that might be a channel that they're very active on. Another strategy, if you are doing cold outreach, is sending them an email at the beginning of the day. Like, hey, I'm going to be giving you a call today. Here's the contacts. Let me know if today is a good time for this. Like, you can give them a heads up and they might respond and be like, oh, I'm not the right person, or tomorrow's a better time, and you might actually get a sense of when the call is going to be happening. So you can always start your day with an email with relevance saying like, hey, going to be giving you a call today. This is what I'd like to discuss. And we've actually seen a pretty high reply rate to that email saying, yes, that's a good time, or no, I'm not the right person, or call me tomorrow. And you can get some context that way so you don't have to just go through a list calling.
Great. So that's very practical. I see some hands rising, and we'll make sure that we address this question at the end. So keep it for 1 second towards the end. Towards the end of the Q&A. Thank you so much. So we're going to move very fast here. So we talk about LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about tools and tech. So there is a lot of tools out there. We mentioned some of them, and I believe we have mentioned AI, or maybe not yet. It's going to come very soon. So what tool or platform have become a must for outbound outreach this year and next year? What's on your radar? Jerry, I'm going to start with you again.
I mean, I would say the first thing is definitely Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. Like it's a great way to find relevant people, to organize your lists, keeps track of your outreach on LinkedIn. It's a great tool. I've used it for the past 8 years, and I would consistently be using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's a great entry point for doing your outreach, I would say. Outside of that, we have a lot of different data providers that we use to get information. There's a lot of affordable ones. I mean, there's a different waterfalling. You just have to find a data provider so you can get emails at least to start engaging on this. That's pretty entry level. Phone numbers come, I'm sure, at a higher rate. So some type of data provider. And then if you're sending emails, you want to keep track of your domain as well, I would say. Like you want to have a subdomain if you're starting to put some volume out on emails. You don't want to burn your primary domain and go to spam and start getting blacklisted. And you will do that if you're sending 200, 250 emails a day. And you want to keep it to 3 people per organization as well to email from your domain, just as a best practice for trying to avoid any issues with your domain. So having a subdomain to not be at risk, I would say as well. There's also cadence tools, dialers. I think that's more once you start scaling the sales organization.
Great. Zina, Kirk, is there any tool out there that you recommend?
I'm going to be the resident curmudgeon here and say that they're all gimmicks. Like I heard video and it just made me cringe because I've been the recipient of these video outreaches and they're never, sorry if you're doing that.
I don't. No, I don't.
Yeah,
I
good,
can't.
good on you. So there's a time and place. I've gone through a lot of tools in my career, and many of them work until they don't. That's my advice is not to be super focused on tools and more focused on your outreach strategy.
What's about you, Zenaize? Is one tool that that you recommend that you're using in addition to what has been mentioned?
I think I'm going to sit on the agreeing seat here. Don't be cringe. If you don't want to receive that message, don't send it. Not to be like a whatever, like a like a guidebook here, because I sure am not. Right, I'm also figuring it out. I'm also knocking on a lot of doors, and a lot of them are not opening. So if you have tips, come to me after. Anyway, Sales Nav is definitely helpful.
Yeah.
I think in terms of tools, the tools change and they've enhanced my process, right? So I don't know, 3 months ago, I wasn't using some platforms to customize my message, right? Or to prepare for a call, right? Sometimes I'll hop on a call and just rely on my human skills, which is sometimes works because you see a human who you're like, oh, this is a nice connection. What are you up to? What are you doing, right? But what's helped me a lot in terms of tools is it doesn't matter, right? If it's ChatGPT, if it's Claude, if it's Copilot, it's whatever, right? We're overwhelmed with tools coming every day, but utilize them as an assistant. So whichever tool works for you, great. I don't know, sign up for a newsletter and see what tools are coming out every 15 minutes, right? See what works well and for you. But I think in terms of tools, it's meet yourself at your weakness or your strength. For me, going through a company's website, even for 5 minutes before a call, that's for some reason it's exhausting, right? So I'm just hey, insert AI tool here. Why shall my company, why shall Technis be a good fit for Reveneer, right? So maybe their offices need a smart building people counting platform, right? And it would tell me a little bit of hey, this is what Reveneer does, this is where their office is, right? So I'm not expecting for the tool to make my call or to make my connection. But it's just a couple of quick facts that I don't have to go through somebody's website, because some websites are great and some are there, so I kind of want to that's my advice is the tools don't matter as much because it's easy to find one, and I'm happy to share what I use after this, but find the one that works for you.
Okay, perfect. Let's move to personalization, and I'm turning to you, Gert, because you have a very interesting point of view on this matter.
Dear.
When it comes to scaling personalization, what tool or technique are helping you do that without losing your brand's voice?
I'm at risk of becoming a true grumpy old man here. I've been guilty of this. I downloaded the Martindale-Hubbell directory on a free trial and emailed 2,000 managing partners earlier in my career. That kind of worked. It doesn't work anymore. I think at this point, if you cannot identify a reason why somebody would be interested in speaking with you, then you shouldn't even attempt to speak to them. So it does require, I think, some research. And we're going to get to my comment I made on the prep call. But I want to give a shout out to Zaina. I think she's right. I think where tools can make sense is understanding your prospective customer. If you don't expect it to do the outreach for you, but if you use it to understand the challenges of a matrix business or an individual founder that you want to talk to, that's a fantastic use. But I definitely didn't like hearing personalization at scale. I think that's no longer defensible. I think you can customize at scale. You can identify your ideal customer. You can put your personas in there, and you can get a pretty good understanding of what kind of people you might want to talk to, but don't call it personalization, please.
Okay, I will change that. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
I really appreciate your point of view on that. I think that you're spot on. You're up to something. So let's talk about AI and human touch, specifically automation and human touch. So AI is in everything right now, but where are you drawing the line between automation and human interaction? And I'm going to start with you again, Kirk, on that. What do you think?
I think I've made all the mistakes at this point, so I feel like I can speak to this. And I've also been on the receiving end of a bunch of very poorly constructed cold outreach, much of which is AI generated. It's quite lazy, I think, to use it as an outbound tool. I think it's easily, like, humans still have enough understanding above and beyond what AI can do to discern whether something is written by a human or a machine. That might be different next year when we come back. But now I think it communicates that you're using a tool, and it doesn't make me want to talk to you. So I think in a way, and as Zaina mentioned earlier about your 3 circles of prospective clients, if you have like a niche business, don't use AI in your best prospective customers, because you can really, really destroy a long-term opportunity by making a poor decision early on before you understand how to communicate with the prospective customer.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I'm going to turn to Zena now, and I'm curious about how you use AI to support your outreach, whether it's calling or emailing as well.
There's a lovely gentleman in front of me who does some AI trainings. So I just met him yesterday, so maybe he's not lovely, but he seems lovely. So he can talk to folks on that. But from my side, I think echoing what you said is, if you're in a niche space, you cannot go very generic in your outreach. I mean, you can, but it becomes obvious. And then you meet this person at the next conference, and then the next conference, and the next conference. And then they know that you reached out to them with, hey, Kirk, this is Jana. We both live in Boston. We should talk. So like, I think for those more niche markets, like, you might want to say, hey, I see that you work with iCorps and you've done like however many years of experience. Sorry, I did not do my personalization homework too much. But all of that to say is, as an example, I'm preparing for 2 conferences after this one. One of them is like a smart building conference that is more specific to my market. For that conference, most people I'm reaching out to are at least connected to some of the people I'm reaching out to. So like, I'm honestly almost embarrassed to reach out with like a very generic statement of, hey, like, we both are human, maybe. Right? So for that conference, I'm doing all of my outreach very specifically, and like, I'm trying to be a little more mindful. I may have made mistakes, but that's like a little more specific. For another conference I'm going to, it's in a security space. That's not my space. Like, there's a lot of, like, billions of people in this world. Like, if I've made a mistake and reached out to somebody with like, hey, we're both human and we both live in Boston, like, ultimately, who cares, right? Like, maybe they respond and they didn't pick up on that it's an AI tool, and they're like, hey, like, I went to BC, let's talk, or like, I went to Suffolk, right? So then own it and then make the connection human, right? And be like, hey, like, sorry, I might have been a little too persistent here, reaching out to you 3 times, telling you that you're human, right? So to kind of, again, summarize a little bit is, for niche spaces, try your best to be a little more specific. For more generic spaces, for spaces that you're like, hey, I'm trying to get into hospitals, but my actual core business is like universities, like, trial and error on the hospitals. Like, do the AI campaign on the hospitals, because it's a lower risk. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for your 2 cents. Jerry, I'd love you to be a little bit more vulnerable here. Can you share a mistake that you or your team or someone else that should not be named made in over-automating or using AI, and what you learned from it?
Yeah, I mean, with overusing automation and AI, it's exactly what has been talked about. It's in the email messaging, and it could be seen very quickly and it can hurt brands, honestly. It's like, you don't want your brand to represent just someone who isn't even a real person going out from an email with quote unquote personalization at scale. 1, like I said, it could hurt your brand. 2, the message probably isn't relevant. 3, it's probably going to hurt your domain integrity. It's like, there's a lot of negative that comes out to it. And I'm sure everybody goes on LinkedIn and every 3 swipes, there's some magical AI sales platform, but it's really not there yet. So I would say on the automation side as well, you want to keep that volume a little low. And early in my career, we had tools that could really automate emails at a high volume, and definitely would have abused that. Can't do that today at any high volume. So I would say keep the automation to a minimum and use the AI to help with your research, but it's still human activated with putting it in front of your potential prospects. So lower that automation threshold a ton.
Thank you, thank you. That's a great advice. We're moving to the next section of this panel, and we're going to talk about delivery and data privacy. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the intro. Regulation keep changing all the time. So there is GDPR, CCPA, etc., and so on. So Jerry, could you please expand on that? What they are, their impact, and their impact on cold calling and cold emailing?
For sure. So with cold calling and cold emailing, there's a few things. I mean, on email, like I said, you want to do a subdomain. We also set up something called a CNAME. What this does is it protects that email from the rest of the domains on the subdomain. So say that one did get flagged, the other ones won't be at risk to be shut down. So these are more on the technical back end of email. Phone-wise, something very easy you can do. If you start making cold calls, I'm sure everybody gets potential spam on their phone. If your phone's coming up as that, you're probably never going to get a pickup. You can register your number with the free caller registry. You can Google it. You pretty much put in your information, your phone number, your business, and it aligns to your phone. So it can really lower your spam rate. Another tip is if you send an email to that person and call from that phone number, it'll say maybe Jerry Castelletto. I'm sure we've all said maybe person. How you do that is it recognizes the phone number from the signature in the email. So maybe you start with that to really warm up their inbox to your phone. Those are just some things you can do on getting your email to their inbox. And one more thing is to warm up the email. Don't spin up a subdomain and send 200 emails day one. There's back-end systems to be like, okay, I know what you're doing. So really warm that up, 5, 10 emails, get some back and forth, and then you could start to get the volume a little higher. But I would say subdomain and then register your phone number are two basics that you can start to go to market.
Great, thank you for sharing. Gina, you had an experience in Europe. Like, would you talk a little bit more about like the GDPR access point of view as well?
Yeah, I think obviously it depends on what your market is. I think the US market, depending on where you are, you have a little more room to play. As a personal example, I called an apartment building for parking, and 2 days later I got an email about like their offerings on apartments. And like, even though there are maybe there is no regulations for this, it was very off-putting to me because I did not give you my name, I did not give you my email, and now you're selling me on something I wasn't looking for, right? So I'd say within regulations, GDPR is obviously, if you work with the European market, do your research. I'm not a specialist on that, but it's a bit harder in terms of storing information, sharing information. We used to do campaigns like with partners, and we couldn't share the list of names. Like we couldn't say like these are all the people we're reaching out to. So we just cross-shared the list of companies that we're reaching out to, so that we know like what campaign we're doing. So like to protect that data to not be floating in emails or shared drives or whatever. So there are ways around it. But yeah, depending on your specific need and your specific outreach, you probably want to do like some of your own research in that regard. Like some states, and Jerry has much more experience with this, like you can record calls or you don't have to record calls. But then again, if you're a founder calling into somebody, you probably don't want to be like, hey, this call might be recorded, right? So like you kind of want to play with what's your brand, again, back to like the company brand that you want to create, and what markets are you going after. I think that's my...
Yeah. Great, thank you so much for this advice. What about you, Kirk? What do you do to stay compliant but effective at the same time?
We do outsource our outreach, so that's part of it. So we do things like we don't work with partners that do record their calls unless they announce it. I mean, only a couple of states is that permitted. And certainly you don't want to be destroying your brand by doing cold outreach into a company that might report you. So we're very careful about that, being like a security company. If we didn't, we'd be pretty much hypocrites. But if you find a good partner, Reveneer is a good partner. They're just a bit pricey for us. The idea that you're transferring some of the risk to them, as long as you give them your blacklist, who not to contact, and you have a solid contract, then I think a professional company like a Reveneer can do that. If you're doing it yourself, just don't record your calls. I mean, that simple as that. Take good notes.
Great. Thank you. We're coming to the last section of this panel. We're going to wrap it up. And again, keeping in mind who's in the room, founder and early stage team, a couple of sales leaders here and there. For all of you, if you can just in one sentence or so, for founder doing their own outbound, what would you recommend? What is one thing that they should stop doing and one thing that they must start doing? I'm going to start with you, Zena.
I knew it. I think in terms of one thing to stop doing is stop saying what you're bad at. That might be my millennial in me speaking. I think we're all very aware of what we're bad at. And embrace it. I don't know, like, I'm not good at public speaking, but here we are, right? It's like, it's
What you say?
yeah. I know.
What should we stop doing?
Yes, excellent. Yes, just try addressing it, and like, it might be one email today, it might be 2 phone calls tomorrow, like, it might be hiring a company that does it, right? I think there was a session on when to hire your first salesperson, right? Like, figure out, like meet yourself where you're at. So like, the stop doing is like, don't tell yourself like, I'm bad at it, because like, without getting too anecdotal, is like, you're never going to be good at something you've never done. Like, if you're a founder and you're sitting on those sales calls, but you are not the salesperson on the sales call, like, you're not going to all of a sudden become a brilliant salesperson because you sat next to one, right? Like, so like, maybe start again, back to the previous example, start with the hospitals, do like that outreach to a place that doesn't matter to your business too much. And the do thing is, I would say meet people where they're at, because like I think the whole session we've talked a lot about this is people are busy, people get a lot of emails, people have kids, elderly parents, sandwich generation, everything and anything in between. Like, maybe today, like, your kids are sick, your parents are calling, and like, you're late to work, right? So some people prefer LinkedIn, some people are on Teams, some people prefer Zoom. Like, I had a client that I talked to her only when she walked her dog on WhatsApp. And, you know, like, is that the best like place to do a sales call? Like, absolutely not. But like, that's where she was available for me, because ultimately you're borrowing somebody's 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So if you want them to take 2 seconds to read your tagline to then get 2 of their minutes, like, find them where they're at. So that's what I would do.
Thank you. Thank you for those advice. I'm going to go to you, Kirk, and then Jerry, you're next. What's founder in the room and sales leader? What should they stop doing and what should they start doing? One sentence or two.
Sure. So I was doing some mentoring with MIT a while back, and the founders, who are all much smarter than I am, were completely dysfunctional about reaching out to even their own network. So don't be afraid of that. Do so in a smart way. Ask for advice, not pitch your product, and really focus on validating your concept. I've been with a startup that pivoted 4 times before we found out what we were good at. So don't assume you actually, even if you have good technology and a good product, it doesn't mean that you're solving a problem that people care about. So I really focus on that. Work your network. Don't be afraid of the phone. Use it well.
Thank you, Kirk. What about you, Jerry?
I mean, both great pieces of advice. I would say on top of that, stop automating emails at a high volume. Like, I get a ton and the signature says CEO founder, and I don't even know what the product does, and it's just tough, you know, even if I was interested. So I'd say stop doing that at a high volume, and to go off the network piece, post on LinkedIn, comment on LinkedIn. Like, it is a powerful channel to start. You can network a lot, comment on other people in the industry's post, and be consistent. Like, the biggest thing is staying consistent on LinkedIn and just keep up with that. If somebody likes your post around your product and they're in your ideal customer profile, it's like that's a lead you could start a conversation with direct relevance. So I would say start posting on LinkedIn consistently, comment on people, and stop the emails at a high volume.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the 3 of you for your time, your advice. We're going to open it up to a Q&A, and I believe we had a question right there. You raised your hand earlier. Yes.
I was just curious at that moment regarding the data providers. You talked about getting emails, getting phones. So, you know, very tactically, what vendors do you use and which ones do you have come to trust?
It's a good question. Just because the best data providers are, I'll be honest, are 65% accurate. There's still tough data out there. And a lot of them are very expensive. At this point, what I would recommend is something called clay.com. It has access to 50 plus data providers, and you only pay once it finds that person's contact information as it waterfalls. And there's some pretty affordable data vendors on there. There are ZoomInfo, we've had a relationship. I would not say that's entry level by any point. And I would not say as a founder to get that. Clay.com, you can get people's information for $1 each, if not less, at the cents. So I would say go to clay.com, select some of their best providers at an affordable price, and that's where I would get confirmed emails and mobiles to start.
Is there another question? There's a question over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a double header for you, Jerry. First question is on the research side. I've been looking into using a few different AI tools for figuring out, a little bit more information about somebody before I called. I want to get better at the reason I called is X. What tools have you been seeing the best success with at Reveneer?
For sure, no, it's a great question. There's a lot of tools. There's the ones that are generic LLMs that you can use. Tool-wise, honestly, to go back to Clay, it's more of a platform, but that has access to find relevance. To give a shout out to a startup in Boston, First Touch. It's a Chrome extension. We've used it. You hit the Chrome extension while on their LinkedIn, and it'll give you the most recent news on that company, what that person's post, what that person roles entails, if they're hiring, whatever the trigger is, you can customize it. And like I said, First Touch, we've seen some success with that. I use it personally. You do have to humanize the outreach a bit, but it can at least give you a good starting point to get relevance.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Question number 2, and this makes me feel a bit like a sales fraud. I hear people singing praises of LinkedIn Sales Navigator day in, day out. I've used it myself for the past few years, but I've never really gotten that next level of value from it, especially for the cost. What are some of the things that you think really makes it like an invaluable tool? Like, what are some things you do with it all the time?
Well, the way I use it, and I've been talking to people, founders, CROs for a long period of time. Anybody I meet with or is a client, I add them to a list. And then how I use it is once they change companies, I get alerted from this list. And at this point, it's 8 years in. So there's hundreds of executives on the list that I have connection to. I see they go to a different company, I get notified immediately. And obviously that's a great entry point to start the conversation. Hey, congrats on the new role. And then they're like, yeah, I love an outsourced team. And it's like, this is like that list I pay for SalesNav alone. Outside of that, you want to save accounts and use that information. I can keep track of outreach, but I like it for people I've talked to and getting updates on what they're doing. Because on normal LinkedIn, it's not as organized.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for the tips.
Thank you. There is a question in the back over there.
It's more of a comment and a suggestion. Thank you guys for your time. My name is Roberto Garcia. I'm the co-founder of Winda, a peer-to-peer rental marketplace. For the founders in the room, a great tool for fundraising outreach is Flowly Technologies. It integrates with LinkedIn, and it's amazing. Complete game changer and affordable price. And if you're an investor in here that ends up investing in them, please shoot me over the finder's fee. But no, I'm not getting paid. So just, recommendation for everybody out there.
What's the name?
Flowly. So F-L-O-L-I-E Technologies.
F-L-O-F-I-E. Perfect. Thank you so much. We have a question in the front here.
Hey guys, question. So my background is marketing. My question is going to be marketing related towards you guys. What's the best way to support you? Given where we're at now, AI, everything, if you could have your dream team marketer by your side supporting you in what you're doing in your day-to-day life as a salesperson, what would they be doing right now?
I'd love Kurt to answer this question.
Sure. I'm married to a marketing person, so I can probably speak with some authority on this one, if carefully. It's so far so good, 40 years in. She's not going to ever see this, no. But I would say, just speaking from professional experience, our current marketing team, which is small and mighty, pivoted from being very much content and SEO focused to being more of a partner on lead generation. So It's self-interested advice, but the closer you can connect yourself to the actual sale rather than the content and the infrastructure, the happier you're going to make a sales leader instead of the salespeople that work there.
Zena, is there anything else you would like to add to this?
I do like getting content from my marketing team, mostly because I've always worked with like having to fight for content. But I'd say content that's also relevant. I think most people's attention span, mine for sure, is very short. So not like a 7-page PDF that's telling them about the company, but like short, snappy content is definitely helpful. But I think on the lead gen side, getting a little more background on like where the lead is coming from, getting leads, especially as, like in my world, I'm trying to get brand visibility and helping them help me with this by posting, for example, things on LinkedIn that are not on French would be lovely. My company is Swiss and has a lot of French content, which is wonderful, but not, again, relevant to my market. So I'd say work closely with your sales folks, and I think there's always going to be the push and pull. But the last thing I'd say on this is every stage of your journey is going to be different. Like at this stage of my journey, I need lead gen. At the next stage of my journey, I'll need content. And the next stage of my journey, I'll need like a nice booth so that I can actually like present myself and not like come out of a suitcase. So I think that's a little bit of the meet them where they're at.
Yeah, perfect. That was a great question. I'm a former marketer, recovering. So, there is a question in the back. Yes, please go ahead.
I wonder if the panel can comment on the effectiveness of mass email post-conference. The conference is industry-specific, topic-specific, definitely the type of client I want to target for. I want to know whether you think it's an effective approach and what are some recommendations how I can best leverage that particular tool.
Yeah, I mean, so post-conference, you get a lead list of the attendees. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting a lead list of attendees that went to your booth and you have a phone number, I 100% recommend the phone. We see a lot of success with that. A lot of the work we do is follow-up post-event, and we see huge success in the phone because if you say, "Hey, I saw you went to Startup Boston," it's like, "Yeah, I was there last week. Like, how's it going?" It's like it's a pretty warm intro into the call, and then email-wise, you definitely want to do follow-up. We'll see meetings go straight from an email in that situation. You do want to be careful of the volume, but I would do it within a week of the event because a lot of executives are going to another event in 2 weeks and they're going to forget what that one is. So I would say be quick to engaging with those leads. Try the phone if you have the capacity. If not, email is a good channel for follow-up on events.
I would chime in here a little bit on the email. I think of email as almost like a brand visibility tool, as like a way to get like your domain in their inbox, right? Because like, especially if they don't know who you are, they're like, oh, hey, like Technis is doing something again, right? Without being like too annoying to their email. But yeah, back to like the LinkedIn story. If you've met with somebody and you connected with them, like pull them out of that pile and like do like a personal message and be like, hey, nice talking to you about like your dogs or about your like home buying process or whatever that might be, right?
Great. One last question and then we're going to wrap up. Please go ahead.
This is a shameless plug, but a great panel. Learned a lot about sales from you guys. In response to this gentleman's question in front about how to align marketing and sales, I've actually built, we're a very young startup. We announced our product at the party, the opening night party, and we're solving the problem of aligning sales and marketing. And for marketers, we allow you to build a full market strategy with positioning and messaging for any channel. And then we build research-oriented sales tools with account and persona-oriented research. So appreciate if you'd give it a try. We have a free tier. And let me know whether it works, doesn't work for you. But I thought I'd mention it.
Thank you. Thank you for the pitch. I'm going to wrap up now. So this is what we talk about. So first of all,
sorry, thank you. SureRev AI. Thanks. Thank you.
Great, perfect. So let me wrap up, and then Jeremy, who was our host today, let's applaud for him very quickly. Like a round of applause for you. Thank you so much for having us.
Withdrawn.
Wow, this was intense.
Quite a round of applause.
We're very magnetic.
Okay, let me wrap up very quickly there. So we talk about a couple of things today. So cold outreach and cold calling, but we talk about what's happening when you're founder, where you should start. We talk about tools and tech, and founder, like specifically for early stage. But I want to share something very personal here. So when preparing for this conference, I reached out to I posted on LinkedIn, and one of my friends who's an entrepreneur reached out, and he said, he told me, yes, I hate cold calling. Like he disliked it to his core. So one of the things is, I hope that today you left this room, or you're going to leave this room hating cold calling a little bit less. So thank you very much.
Thank you to the panel. That was great. Just a couple of quick announcements. Folks that already heard, there's a startup crawl at 6:30. If you're interested, meet downstairs right at 6:30. There's limited room on the first floor. That is, meet. Other than that, we have one more event in this room, Landing the Whale, in a half an hour. So I imagine these folks are going to be mobbed at some point. I will try to push you guys out of the room as that happens so that we can reset. And then other than that, for the early stage founders, Friday at the closing party, there is a startup showcase. Please sign up on the first floor on Friday morning if you're interested in claiming a spot for that. Other than that, again, really appreciate all of the insights that the panel shared. And I guess we'll see you all for the next one. Thank you.
That was really fun. You did a great job moderating. Well done.
Like you're doing the God's work for a lot of people. Sure.
Yeah.
Zena.
I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't remember your name or your company, but I remember you had a good sales pitch.
It's my fault, guys. You guys can blame me.